All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to discuss the latest trade deadline rumors as well as recapping the Mets versus Giants series and all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. You guys know the drill by now. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff regarding the team. If you feel like being ignored, you're not being ignored. Just going to be starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled The Mets Frankly Post-Game. And for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 155 of our show. And wow. Okay, so the Mets have now won 7 in a row. They are getting hot, definitely at the right time. They're playing a little bit better. Obviously, some more things to break down, but we get closer and closer and closer to that trade deadline of seeing what this team is going to look like come postseason time, which the Mets going at this rate likely will make the postseason, barring any sort of collapse, but we've never seen them do that before. But either way, Frank, you're also here. Again, you weren't able to watch 2 of the games because they were a little bit late. And obviously, we know that I had to fill in. I don't think it'll be any different for the late games during this Padres series, but hey, it happens. Scheduling happens. But 7 in a row. There's not much to complain about, but you're looking. It's looking better. It's definitely looking better going into this trade deadline.
Yes, well, I might not have been able to see every single pitch. I know. Oh, got my microphone over here. Hello. I might not have seen every single pitch, but I know everything that happened watching it. Just, there's different ways to see a baseball game. So I feel like for me, they've won 7 in a row, but there were some similarities to this Angel series where even though the Giants are barely above 500 after the series, they're a brutal watch. I mean, I'll tell you what, like, we complain a lot on this show about things we feel like the Mets could do better, but man, I'm glad that we are not Giants fans because what they were doing defensively, and we've talked about months, the Mets struggling with run scoring position, the Giants didn't get a single hit. I mean, we joke about how bad the Mets are, but like they didn't get a single hit with runs of scoring position the entire series, yet had a million opportunities, and it was like so poetic that they had the bases loaded, 1 out, and you have the heart of the order up, and you can't do anything. So it's just like the Mets, they did, again, we saw a lot of different contributors, guys step up to all around play well, but I just feel like some of these games, especially game 2, these are games that easily could go the other way. And, when it comes down to it, in a close division race, you need all the wins you can get when it's so tight between you and the Phillies. But I think overall, I'm not ready to say like, oh my gosh, Mets are clicking on all cylinders now. Like we're back on track to go back to the NLCS. I don't feel that way yet. Like we've said, the offense, there's still some things that need to be cleaned up, no doubt. So I feel like for the pitching side, we saw some good stuff. But overall, we're going to get into it. Like there is a lot of interesting things happening within this team, with the guys that are here. Like some guys maybe fighting for jobs, fighting to stay, maybe showcasing for other teams. Like there's just a lot of things happening that's going to be very interesting. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, reports have been continuing to fall. I mean, they've just been going nuts about some guys that the Mets have internally, who's scouting who's looking at who the Mets are interested in. There's been plenty of names that you can't just fit onto one graphic, so we will try to get into as many as we can. Obviously, like you said, the runners in scoring position, it seems like it's never going to go away at this point at the rate that they're going. And I feel like anything that they do that's better than batting, I don't know, 260 with runners in scoring position, I take as a win at this point in a ball game. because they just have not been good in the situational hitting. We are over 100 games at this point. Maybe there is somebody who is on the trade market that could maybe help us in that department that we can get into. But again, it was nice to see different departments step up as well. Obviously, we saw the kids continue to step up in this series from a lot of different facets and coming through with those big hits when we needed them. The top of the order didn't really do as much in this series, and they definitely weren't great, but we were able to see maybe the bottom part of the lineup can carry a little bit of the weight too. Who knows? We don't know about the consistency. We also have a different lineup every single day, so that's one thing. The bullpen was fantastic in this series. They were probably the best we have seen them since they were in April. Hopefully them being freshly rested off of the All-Star break, we get to see a little bit more of that where the unit is a little bit more rested and they get a lot more innings and they have a little bit of a reset there because there are a few relievers there that have been overworked a lot this series, this season. And hopefully with the addition of the high leverage arm that they did acquire this week that we will also get into, hopefully that it starts to all come together here. We've been getting plenty of reports with not that much time remaining to this trade deadline, so it should be very, very interesting what does happen, or maybe it could just all be smoke and mirrors and we are looking at the same team that we have right now going into the trade deadline. I'm hoping not. Like I've said, I'm going to be very disappointed if we don't, top don't top what they did at the trade deadline last year, because with a guy like Juan Soto on your roster, you have the last year of Pete Alonso possibly. Who knows? You don't know what the future is with that. They do need to push the chips in a little bit more, and hopefully, I'm all for things making a little bit more sense. But if they address multiple areas at this trade deadline, I will be impressed. Will I be underwhelmed if, Gregory Soto and another reliever is it that they all do? Yes, I will. I feel like there should be some more that they do end up making. It seems like they are looking in those departments. I think it's very noticeable that they know what the weaknesses are in this team, and I do think that going into the rumors with a certain center fielder that have been heating up recently, I think there is a perfect example of the weaknesses on this team and how you can kind of fill them in. But I feel like this has become a huge debate that we will get into eventually. But again, we're getting into that final series right now of, could there be guys who are playing their last game as a Met? Who knows? This is the last 72 hours of that, that the coverage is going to be nuts on Twitter. Already has been, of all of the rumors and all of the reports. So we'll try to dance around it as much as we can before we get into all of those reports. But either way, let's get into some people in the chat here. Matt is in here. We've got Tony. First Last is in the chat as well. Juan Diaz coming in here. A lot of people are obviously talking about the trade deadline. We'll make sure to star some of these, like I said. Daniel coming in saying, happy Monday, everyone. I used to be not really that big of a fan on Monday, especially in my days when I was in elementary school. I used to get a lot of headaches on Monday, but because it was just right off of a weekend. But for now, I'm okay with Mondays now. It's changed. Either way, we'll see what they do. We'll see what they end up doing. We'll get into those discussions eventually. But again, can't complain about a sweep. You have now won 7 games in a row. This is a stretch where I was like, okay, there's 6 games against these two teams on the road. I think, I think there was a way to say that, okay, yes, it wasn't the most fantastic baseball, but we did see departments step up that were able to collaborate for this win. I think that, it's starting to show you how maybe some of the starting pitching is going to start to fizzle out towards the end of the season. Guys like Clay Holmes, who will he end up being in this playoff rotation? Probably not. We'll see what he does if they move him to the bullpen. We're starting to see a little bit more of the pitching depth on display of this is a good problem to have. We also have some guys coming back from injury, whether you like them or not. They are depth pieces that if they have to turn to them, they'll have to turn to them that are major league arms. So we'll see what happens there. The top of the order obviously has to heat up a little bit more in order for them to keep pushing here. Hopefully it does in this upcoming series against San Diego. But either way, can't really complain much about a sweep. If there's anything you want to add before we get into the rundown of this series, because definitely eventful at the Bay, I do say myself.
Yeah, definitely eventful. I mean, it's tough to not go over like the main topics because it just felt like when we look at the playing time as far as who started and what positions and things like that, I found it very fascinating. And I think that even though, like I said, the Giants did not impress me with how they were defensively, how they were with their hitting, with run score position, even how their ace pitched. But I think overall that we talked about Tyrone Taylor's probably starting both game, most of the series, and he did. And it's just like you wonder how that is in a potential playoff matchup that it's like you probably have to have Taylor or some defensive first center fielder start in a series in that ballpark when you're playing in such a big outfield like that. So that is something that they do have to consider. You have McNeil in center field tonight, but it's just more so overall like very matchup dependent as far as the ballpark as to who is in center field. I find that just very interesting and something that I think is very telling as we're going to get to that deadline talk later on.
Yeah. The Giants did not have a single hit with runners in scoring position in this entire series. So it's one of those moments of it could be worse, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we have had a stretch of that before. But again, who knows? Ibby in the chat here saying, Frank and the piano, we're all the way back. Absolutely. I don't know why that's always his custom background when he's away, but I guess it works. I guess it's something that goes into the theme. I don't know. But either way, let's get into the full rundown of this series, and I will obviously take a drink of water because we all know how this works, but obviously a sweep in San Francisco, some late night baseball as well incorporated into it. We'll start off with game 1. Clay Holmes would make the start, and after a prolonged 30-pitch first inning, he'd battle all night and push through multiple base runners in the 5th inning to finish his day. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts on 104 pitches. The Mets offense would completely decimate Logan Webb all night. After a leadoff double by Brandon Nimmo in the first, Francisco Lindor would follow it up with a single to make it second and third. Juan Soto would get the Mets on the board with an RBI groundout, and Pete Alonso would make it 2-0 on a sacrifice fly. Francisco Lindor would add on to the Mets lead in the 3rd inning with his 20th home run of the season. And in the 4th inning, after back-to-back singles by Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez, followed by a walk to Ronnie Mauricio to load the bases, Tyrone Taylor would drive in the Mets' 4th run on an RBI ground out, beating out the play at first, and Brandon Nimmo would slap a 2-run single to extend the Mets' lead to 6-1. Huskar Brazaban would come on for the 6th and work around an infield hit and a double to keep the Giants off the board with a strikeout to end the inning. Rico Garcia would get the 7th and finish it on 6 pitches with a strikeout. He'd come back out for the 8th and toss another 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts to retire all 6 batters he faced. The Mets would pile it on from there in the 9th after a leadoff hit by pitch to Luis Angel Acuna and a 2-out ground rule double by Francisco Lindor to make it 2nd and 3rd. Acuna would score on a wild pitch, and Juan Soto would drive in Lindor on a RBI single to put the Mets ahead by 7. Jose Castillo would get the last of the 9th and work around a 1-out single to toss a scoreless inning and finish the game, securing the Mets' 5th consecutive win in the series opener, 8-1. Game 2, David Peterson would get the start and work around plenty of base runners, but would turn in yet another quality start, ending his day with 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts on 91 pitches, down 1-0 in the 6th. The Mets offense would finally get going after stranding the bases loaded with nobody out in the 4th, but with walks to Juan Soto and Starling Marte, a miscue by Rafael Devers at first base would push them over to second and third with 2 out, and Mark Vientos would give the Mets the lead on a 2-run double. Reed Garrett would come in for the 7th and toss a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Ryan Stanek would get the 8th and toss a 1-2 and also toss a scoreless inning. And Edwin Diaz would come in for the save in the 9th. Definitely was not very sharp, but he caught a break on a fly ball to right field off the bat of Jung-Hoo Lee. That would have been a home run in 29 of 30 ballparks, followed by a leaping grab from Pete Alonso to save the game, record Diaz's 22nd save of the season, and take the first 2 games of the series with a hard-fought Game 2 win, 2-1. And Game 3, Kodai Senga would make the start and struggled to find the strike zone pretty much the whole night, allowing 2 home runs to Matt Chapman in the process. He'd end his day with 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts on 92 pitches. The Mets would take the lead in the 3rd after back-to-back singles from Francisco Alvarez and Ronnie Mauricio. Francisco Lindor would make it 1-0 with an RBI force out, tied 1-1 in the 5th after a leadoff double by Francisco Alvarez. Ronnie Mauricio would trade places with him with an RBI double to put the Mets back in front. Jose Butto would come out for the 6th inning and toss a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout, with the Mets down 3-2 in the 7th against one of the league's best relievers this season, Randy Rodriguez. Ronnie Mauricio would launch his 5th home run of the year into the McCovey Cove to tie the game at 3, and Juan Soto would give the Mets a 4-3 lead with his 25th home run of the year. Gregory Soto would make his Mets debut in the 7th. More on him later, but he would toss a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout. Reed Garrett would get the 8th and get the first 2 outs via strikeout after allowing a lead-off single. They would hand it to Brooks Raley, who would work around an infield single to finish the inning. The Mets would get some insurance in the 9th after Ronnie Mauricio would lead off with a double for his 4th hit of the day. Brandon Nimmo would put the Mets up by 2 with an RBI double. Edwin Diaz would come on in the 9th, and it would get a bit scary after 2 walks and a hit by pitch to load the bases. Diaz would end up buckling down to strike out Willy Adames and Matt Chapman to finish the game and complete the sweep in San Francisco 5-3. The Mets are now 62-44 on the season after winning 7 straight games and are holding a 1.5 game lead on the Phillies going into tonight for first place in the National League East. So, obviously, plenty that I just discussed there and plenty that I just ranted about. Anyways, like we said, can't get mad at a sweep. Obviously, some stuff that was not very fluent, but again, putting themselves in a really good spot going into this trade deadline with 3 more games to go. Frank, I'll give it to you for your takeaways, especially for those first 2 games as well, because I didn't get to get your instant takeaways because you were probably snoozing and dreaming about Francisco Alvarez winning the MVP one day. So what is your what are your takeaways from this entire series? Again, can't get mad at a sweep, but definitely some stuff to break down here.
Even though we watch every single Mets game, you just never can predict this team. I mean, the Mets are very fortunate that they don't have their players betting against themselves or against their opposition because they're just so unpredictable. I mean, if you go into this series and you say, okay, well, in one of these 3 games, the New York Mets will score 8 runs. There's no way you predict that it would be the Logan Webb game. I mean, because Logan Webb, he's money. And against the Mets, he's been really good like he is against most other teams. So to see them really take advantage and cash in with opportunities against such a great pitcher definitely was, it was good to see, but in a way also frustrating when then you see how they perform in Game 3 when they're going against the weaker part of the Giants bullpen. And we're struggling in the beginning portions of that game. So it's that's where I think a lot of our, when we say underwhelming or frustration stems from, is that we know that based off of how much these guys are getting paid, the talent that they have, and then the way they could perform really good against higher competition, but then struggle against lesser competition is what makes it so frustrating because we know they're capable of being better. And I feel like that was really what you saw in this Giants series is that, you know what, these games, especially game two, was like super tight. You had Vientos, the guy who, I mean, we'll get to him later, but he gets the big hit. And then, yesterday, Ronnie Mauricio, I mean, he looked like, I mean, I don't even know what. I mean, a switch hitter, getting all that done, even though it was mostly left-handed. Seeing him have that kind of game, though, it was eye-opening. You know what I mean? Like, there was just some stuff that really kind of jumped off the page. We're like, whoa, that was, like, really nice to see. So I found it also fascinating that the Giants yesterday, even though it was a bullpen game, they really tried to win. I mean, they had guys working back-to-back days, Joey Lucchesi working back-to-back days with the up-down, Randy Rodriguez, a great pitcher, as you mentioned, working back-to-back days with the up-down. I mean, the Giants really tried for that game. They pulled out all the stops, and it just wasn't enough. The Mets were able to put it together. Like you said, a lot of guys contributed. Juan Soto had the home run. Alvarez showed to continue off his Angels series. So I just thought it was really nice to see that even though it was against Robbie Ray and like all this other stuff, they still were able to find ways to get it done. They still are doing great with stealing bases. The new bullpen piece, Gregory Soto, awesome. And then prior to Diaz coming into the game, the bullpen had not walked a single batter the other games. I mean, like, that's something you also don't see. So I just felt like there definitely was mostly good, and you need mostly good to sweep a series. But I think overall it's more so like that we just see what the team is capable of, and that's kind of where it's frustrating. And you know what? With how this season has gone, they're a game out of having the best record in baseball, but so are a lot of other teams. But still, it's just like this is when you want to get high. It's like this is where you try to send a message to your front office, like, you know what, we're in this. Like, we're one of the best teams. Get us like that, like, let's go all in, let's really make a push for it, because there's no runaway team. There's no dominant team, because it was always like, oh, well, the Dodgers, oh, well, the Astros. Oh, it's always, oh, well, but somebody else is always going to beat you. And that's not the case this year. So it's like, if there was ever a year to go for it, your rotation's healthy now, it feels like this might be the time to do it. So you just want to see these guys continue to play well, continue to stay where they're at. And who knows what happens in the postseason. That's where things get interesting.
Yeah, I think it's not really just much of the fact that the Mets don't have enough offensively that we talk about going into this trade deadline. It's the fact that we know they're capable of more, and we constantly see consistent inconsistency. And I think that's the main reason as to why people get a little frustrated of, well, we got to replace this guy in the lineup to make the lineup better, which, listen, I understand if they're saying, like, yeah, we're not really looking to add a bat to this lineup because the talent's there. However, there are some pieces that can make this lineup either deep and also provide you other things that can help you in the postseason, which, against other things that we will get into. But I think, again, for this series in general, I think we're starting to see quite a workload take a little bit of a toll on Clay Holmes. Let's just say that. Obviously, we've seen him struggle to get through 5 innings a lot this season, something I expect from someone who is just becoming a starter right now. So I'm not really like completely shocked and completely perplexed by it. But again, it's all really just about this rotation holding up the way that it has. And, with all those options of rotations being just a complete committee now, like I've talked about, it's starting rotations don't exist anymore. It's a committee of arms. They've held it up fairly well as of right now, where if they do want to make a push for a frontline piece, they could possibly do that. I want that starter again. I want that starter to be someone who can go deep into games, because they definitely need that. But if it could be a frontline piece that can go deep into games as well, there are some guys out there, but it all really depends on the price. We'll see what they end up doing. I don't know what it is. We have no idea what Stearns is doing right now behind closed doors. We have no idea what other teams are doing behind closed doors as we get closer and closer to this deadline. But again, great to see that huge game from Ronnie Mauricio. Obviously, from the left side, it seems like he's a lot more dominant. There's a right-hander on the mound today for San Diego. He's back in the lineup today. So we'll see if he continues being a switch hitter. But again, that's more of a discussion for next year. However, Mark Vientos seems to slowly but surely be getting back into it. How long will he be doing it for this team? Who knows? With the latest reports, who knows? Brett Beatty still seems to be someone who only hits at home, which is odd, very odd. Never seen somebody do very well at Citi Field and then awful everybody everywhere else. And then Francisco Alvarez looks really competitive in every single one of these ABs. So that's really, really good. So from all of these young guys, except I guess if you're counting Acuna, I don't know, but he's seemed to be coming off the bench. Again, the top of the lineup definitely had to step up. Good to see Lindor a little bit more back into the swing of things after that big skid that he had. Good series by Brandon Nimmo as well. The two guys who definitely were snoozing throughout it, I'd say that Alonso definitely was not great in this series. But there was one thing that I do want to add here. Just one thing. That whole what was it? Them having, who did they have bunt or something? I forget what it was. I don't know if you were up for this one.
That must have been one of
was it
later games.
Yeah, it may have been one of the. They had Acuna bunting or something. I don't know if it was 2 outs or 1 out, but a runner at third.
I did see that. Yes, actually, I did see that. It was. I think wasn't it like Marte at third or someone like that. Like
it was something like that. I don't know. Starling Marte as well. Really good series from him.
He continues to.
He's been on fire.
Month. He's had a great month.
He's been on fire. So again, it's been very encouraging to see some things. Obviously, we know what areas they do need to improve on, and we will see how they do address those areas. Obviously, we do have one question that we all want to answer in spite of those areas. With Mark Vientos, there is a question in the poll. I want to see how this splits. The poll is asking that big question that has been the debate of the last 48 hours. So let us know what you think. If you're watching right now, vote on that poll. I want to see what the discrepancy is by the time we get into that segment. But as for recapping this entirety of the series, because I feel like everybody wants to get into the trade deadline talks, let's start with some studs and duds. One player in this series that was really, really good, one that was not fantastic. Frank, I will go to you for a stud in this series.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to go a little bit of recency bias, but I definitely want to shout out Jeff McNeil, especially for yesterday's performance. I feel like the kind of pitchers that he was facing, to see him really pull the ball, and of course, since you're in San Francisco, it doesn't go out, but I mean, to see that kind of power from him, pulling the ball to right field, multiple extra base hits. I thought one of, if not potentially both of them, could have been triples. That would have been really cool to see as well. But I just think seeing Jeff, he held his own as well. He did start that third game in center field, so I feel like he survived it, and he was doing stuff offensively. I mean, he continues to be solid for this team. I mean, he's all year been like the number 3 guy as far as like OPS plus, all these things. He's constantly been number 3. So, I mean, shout outs to him that he's been able to keep it going, stay afloat, keep that OPS above 800. He's been a productive piece for him. He's played the multiple positions, how well he's played them. He's not a center fielder. I totally agree, but they're getting away with it, and they're finding a way to get his bat in the lineup while keeping Beatty in the lineup, while keeping Mauricio in the lineup. That's the only way you could do it, because you're not putting Beatty in center, you're not putting Mauricio in center. So that is the only way, and the Mets, after this series, can put together a 9 that all have OPS plus above 100. They now have the personnel to do it. They have the statistics to do it. They didn't do it today because Vientos is starting, but they have enough guys who are able to do that now. So we'll see when they bust out that lineup as far as like their all offense group. But I just think for him, he's definitely been an important piece for this team. He's consistently been batting in that 5 spot behind Alonso. Hasn't been the greatest protection, but he's still been viable. I mean, the 5 through 9 was huge for the Mets yesterday. I mean, it was that combo of McNeil, then you had Alvarez and Mauricio. We talked so much about the core 4, but really it was the bottom half that carried them yesterday. So I was very impressed by that.
We need the core four, or what is it? The Fab Four. We need a new nickname for the bottom five. I don't know. The I don't know. Something. Who knows? I mean, listen, Jeff. Hey, I mean, he's been really good. Does it matter? No, but like, no. I mean, here's the thing. Tyrone Taylor was a little bit more of a factor in this series, obviously, with the ground that is need to be covered in center field of filling in those gaps. And mind all of this, I feel like that has been, types of details that the Mets have missed over the years for a long time as to why they've always come up short. And there's a main reason as to why there's details in this where the Mets addressing center field should be a lot more important than I think it's being displayed as. Because, I mean, Jeff McNeil's played a good center field. I'm not going to deny that at all. But he doesn't belong there at all. Like, he should not be there. Like, just because he can play the position doesn't mean he should, especially on a team that has the resources where Jeff McNeil shouldn't be playing center field.
Not on a daily basis, especially.
Shouldn't be on a daily basis. Yeah. I've talked about this before. He's a second baseman, and if he continues to produce, he will continue to be here, and I won't, ring his bell every single time that he slams his helmet or something. But, again, is there a part where you're like, okay, well, originally it was supposed to be Jose Siri. It was originally supposed to be Tyrone Taylor kind of splitting time of being part-time players. And McNeil has kind of been splitting between second base, maybe a little bit of left field once in a while, and center field. So, again, the main thing with McNeil is, in context to this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. His health doesn't belong in center field, and his arm doesn't belong in center field. That has nothing to do with my history with Jeff McNeil. It's just off of the straight fact of what can he actually provide to make himself valuable in this position in any sort of situation. And we know that Tyrone Taylor is not an everyday player, and he should not be an everyday player, but he can hold down center field. Jeff McNeil can play center field, but he can also be an everyday player if he hits. So again, there's a formula here where it's like, okay, let's try to move Jeff McNeil back to second base and pursue somebody in center field at the trade deadline, which I think needs to be put into more of emphasis. But if they think that the platoon of McNeil and Taylor is there, I don't think you can win a World Series like that, but it's whatever. Again, his bat has been very, very good to putting him into the lineup. I feel like putting him in the best position for them to win would be at second base, and I think everybody would agree with that. And that's the main reason as to why I think there's a need to move one of these infielders at this trade deadline, not just to put Jeff McNeil into the infield, but also figure some things out. Maybe two. I don't know.
Infielders get moved because I mean the way you talked about it earlier, but like. Acuna is in like dead last in this race of like the four young infielders. Like he's just a runner at this point. He has not done anything offensively. He has like a hit in a month, it feels like. So at least a hit that mattered. So to me, he's like in dead last. And then it's like even if you did pursue, let's say you traded Vientos and you pursued a center fielder and you put McNeil at second, well then you still have Beatty and Ronnie at third. And it's like there's only one third base, so who's going to be occupying it? And like I said last episode, but if Marte continues to be one of your best hitters, how do you take him out of this lineup, especially for Beatty, who's really just been good at home? And then the problem is that like. Beatty bats left-handed, and Marussio's only good against right-handed pitchers, so you can't even do a traditional platoon in that sense. So that's what we're talking about, like the fit thing. There's some weird fit stuff. Yeah. Even if you did that, there's still some weird fit stuff on this team.
Yeah, and I do think that could possibly be solved at this trade deadline of, I don't think, again, like I've said, I don't think all the problems can be completely solved in one trade deadline. I don't think it will ever be like that, but I do think that the logjam of positions and the either lack of versatility or lack of tools on this team can be solved with a few guys that are out there that maybe they pursue at the trade deadline, which we will get into. But As we get off of the tangent, we just mentioned him, Starling Marte. That would be my stud. You can't even get this guy out right now. Obviously, we've talked about him as kind of a weak DH because I think we all kind of identified the DH kind of as a power position, especially on a lot of these contending teams. But he's held it down fairly well. Again, we've talked about it so many times. Is it bad contract allocation? Absolutely. This is his last year on that contract, so we'll see what the deal is. But as hot as he has been, you can't really take him out of the lineup. And even though he's not in the lineup tonight, and he probably should be in the lineup tonight because he's red hot, it does not make sense to move him out of that DH spot as of right now because he's red hot. Like, we need to see a Starling Marte that constantly gets on base multiple times in order for him to be somewhat valuable at that DH position. It still doesn't add up to a Schwarber or Jordan or a Stanton or a Shohei Ohtani. That doesn't add up to their position to position. But if he makes the lineup deeper, he anchors the bottom part of the lineup that's been very inconsistent, that's fine. And he has been one of their consistent hitters recently, especially in the month of July. So huge series by Starling Marte. Onto the Doug category. Frank, I'll swing it right back to you.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely was a tough one. But, I mean, if I had to pick one, I think I really just disagreed with the decision late in the game as far as the pitching with Brooks Raley. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. I would have just stuck with Reed Garrett. Especially when you see two former Mets in a big spot come to play. You rather have Dom Smith or you rather have Wilmer Flores. In a big spot, I take Wilmer Flores 100 times out of 100. I would never want Dom Smith to be batting for me. So it's like you have that matchup. Just attack Dom Smith.
But you remember Dom in 2019 where he had that walk-off homer to finish the season?
Yeah, the last game of the season.
And it was the site of great things to come.
And then he didn't hit a home run for like 2 years after that. Anyway.
Yes.
I don't see why I really had to enter in that game. I just felt there was no reason for it. Yeah. So that just made it a much closer game. You need to be lucky the Mets got an insurance run in the ninth inning because then they almost really needed it. But I just thought Mendoza and Rayleigh combined, I hated that decision so much because we know what Dom does in the big spot. We know Wilmer Flores does in the big spot. And it just seemed like a no-brainer to me, yet they still did the opposite.
I mean, Rayleigh can pitch to both lefties and righties, so it's not like they were, they didn't have a weapon in disguise there. But I mean, obviously, I get it. Wanting to pitch to Dom Smith, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense, as Pentrice says here. Dom Smith, the ultimate juice ball merchant. I think we all can agree with that. To J.D. Davis to some extent as well. I already mentioned this, but Pete Alonso did not have a really good series, and it kind of got overshadowed by a lot that the bottom part of the lineup was doing. Nimmo was hitting fairly well. We saw Soto come through a few times. Lindor homered in this series. But Alonso has been a little bit slow out of the gate, let's say, from this All-Star break. Hopefully he gets going. I don't think anybody's trying to, throw him under the bus just now because he had such a fantastic start to the season. But this definitely was not a great series from Pete Alonso. He definitely had opportunities in order to bust this game open and make it a lot more, a lot less closer than it was. So again, Pete Alonso, I definitely would put into that category going into from this series. Now, we did get some news before this series even started. The Mets we even saw him in the series finale, and that being Gregory Soto, who the Mets acquired earlier this week, adding into their bullpen. He's a lefty, and we'll do a little bit of a rundown here of their newest trade deadline acquisition, their first of hopefully multiple. But I had a stream. I went live when this first happened, doing a little bit of a breakdown that went on with Gregory Soto. I went live with Evan and Matt from Mets Central. So if you guys want to go check that out, you can check that out. We talked a little bit more about the deadline as well and other moves that they can make. But as for Gregory Soto, let's get into a rundown, reloading the gas tank, because this is a guy who can throw really, really hard from the left side, which is a rare thing that you definitely see in baseball these days. There's only a select few lefties that can give you some of that power tool stuff from the left side. So either way, Gregory Soto, as of right now, a 3.86 earned run average this season. Doesn't give up many home runs, does not give up that much, suppresses the barrel, obviously. He's got that big sinker, of course, that can touch 99 to 100 from the left side, which is his best pitch, obviously. Can be a little bit wild. We know that he can be, but when he does hone in this stuff, he can get a lot of swings and misses, and also can induce some ground balls. One of the main things that was one of the appealing things from the Mets was, of course, his numbers against left-handed hitters, where they are slashing 138, 271, 276 against him this season. And we saw him face some featured lefties, including Rafael Devers, who he had quite a battle with, but he was able to get him to ground out. So you have plenty of left-handed bats in the National League that will probably be, facing Gregory Soto in some of these certain situations, depending on how he does down the stretch of the season. Obviously, an 11% walk rate gets a decent amount of strikeouts. It's 27.6% this season. Called strike and whiff percentage, basically a measurement of control and command, almost a 30%, which is near elite categories, especially for relievers. And he has had a really solid season, and it basically shows you that he can be someone to pair up with Brooks Raley from the left side, who can throw hard. Brooks Raley, a little bit more of a soft tosser. So you get a lot more versatility, a lot more different looks, a deeper bullpen now acquiring Gregory Soto. The guys that the Mets ended up giving up was Wellington Arencia, who is their 19th overall prospect, and then the unranked prospect, Cameron Foster. So, Frank, you were not here for, obviously, that stream when we talked about it. The instant reactions, obviously, the first impression was great. The 38-year-old left-handed reliever, Gregory Soto, being added to the bullpen, first of multiple bullpen additions that will be made at this trade deadline. But I would say that the Mets are off to a good start with some of these moves that they are making. So what are your thoughts on the Mets acquiring Gregory Soto here?
I definitely like that they were definitely aggressive here, that they kind of took initiative and they said, okay, we know that bullpen has been a struggle for us, just finding like some extra arms, some consistency. And I feel like this has really gotten them in a much more stable spot that they have not been in quite some time. Because, I mean, as we know, the expectation was that A.J. Mitch was going to lefty from the bullpen. I mean, that was the plan. Yeah. He was going to be the guy. He goes down, and Danny Young was pitching all right, and we said, okay, well, we lost Minter. It really, really stinks, but let's see what Danny Young has to do. So they have him out there. He goes down for the season, and then the Mets are stuck with basically no lefty in the bullpen. Then you have like Castillo coming in here, and just all these Richard Lovelady, Brendan Waddell, even though he's more of a long reliever. Like we saw a bunch of different arms, but never just like that one solid lefty, because Brooks Raley was still working his way back from the injury. So to now have another guy who could come in there and face those lefties that he did, Young Ho Lee, Rafael Devers, and be able to hold his own, do it with a sinker at 97, 98 is a very nice weapon to have in your bullpen when you don't need him to be a closer anymore. This is a guy that used to be an all-star when he was with the Detroit Tigers. Now he's in a much less leverage role with the Mets. I mean, they're not really asking much out of him, which I really like. So when it comes to building a bullpen, obviously stuff is key. You want a bunch of guys that could throw 100 or 98, but it is nice when you do have a lot of different options that you could do, because in the National League, as we know, the team that we're fighting right now, the Philadelphia Phillies, they have two very prolific left-handers. And it is nice to have a soft tosser finesse one, but also a hard-throwing one. This way, it's like each at-bat, you kind of get a different look. So I really like that aspect of it as well, is that, you really could put these guys in the best position to succeed. You could do it very matchup dependent, and it just gives you a lot more options, because with Raley working his way back from the injury, he's not going to be there every night. So it's like, okay, at least one night you have Raley, one night you have Gregory Soto. This way you always have a lefty available out of your bullpen. And I think the thing that's most encouraging me, that I'm most happy about, is that today the Mets didn't make any roster moves prior to the game. And it's
Yeah.
like, when has that been the case lately? Because if anything, they're making like 2 pitching moves a day for a while before everyone got healthy. And now you have Soto in here. He's not going to be sent down. He's going to be in the bullpen going forward. Like, it just lets everything flow a lot better. Maybe you don't have to use Brosban as much. You don't have to use Garrett as much. They could be more effective. Like, it just allows everything to just kind of go much better, and they didn't have to wait till the day of the deadline to do it, and they didn't have to give up much to acquire him. And the hope is that, you know what, maybe they get somebody else. There's one rumor that maybe the Cardinals and Ryan Helsley is available. Like, you're maybe in discussions with that. The Edwin Diaz future plan is something that has to be considered with his opt out, the kind of season he's having. So it's not so much like, oh well, we got Soto, we're not going to add to the bullpen anymore. It's like, no, this is a piece of the bullpen. We should definitely still like to add one more in the high leverage role that might be closer to the deadline, but at least it is someone from the left side that definitely is a big upgrade over Jose Castillo, who got DFA'd, and a lot of the other guys that we've seen lately.
Yeah, I mean, again, I say that this is definitely an upgrade from last year, which I guess this is the Brazaban move from last year. What did we have with somebody else?
No, you could call it the Maton move or Stanek.
The
Those
Maton
guys
move.
were, before the
Stanek.
deadline.
Oh yeah, okay. I was thinking of deadline day. So again, I definitely think we're going in a little bit bigger of a direction here. He's obviously not the top tier of closer that there's been a lot of guys seen as possible trade candidates that could fetch a lot on the market. But again, this is someone with stuff that applies, stuff that can induce ground balls, stuff that can produce a lot of whiffs as well. Hopefully he's able to, finish off hitters and we don't get like these constant 12 pitch ABs. But to see him, as someone and as a team that is in a league right now with some of the best hitters being left-handed hitters, it definitely applies to the details there. Like, it definitely applies to those little details in the margins that are really paid attention by David Stearns a lot, especially on the pitching side. So again, this is a really good addition to this bullpen. He's obviously not going to be the number one featured guy, but they are going to definitely use him in some high leverage situations against left-handed hitters. And we will see, how that bodes well. He's obviously off to a good start. Pitched a 1-2-3 inning yesterday. We got to see some of the heat as well. So we'll see how he's able to adapt here. We know that he can be wild. We always know that relievers can always have the tendency to be wild. But if you're asking me who would I rather have from the left side, being Gregory Soto or Jose Castillo, I'm taking Gregory Soto 100 times out of 100. I don't think there's ever a time where I'm taking Jose Castillo, even if Gregory Soto is injured and only has one arm. I think I would still take Gregory Soto. I think that's pretty much where I would go to a point of, especially with a lot of these guys that we've had pitched for us this year. I think that this definitely deepens the bullpen. It makes it a lot better. Is there another move up their sleeve? I hope so. Even though Rico Garcia has pitched fairly well for us, I don't think he's a playoff caliber type of arm to be putting out there. But this bullpen's definitely shaping up to fully healthy right now. Looks really good. So we'll see what happens. I was very shocked to see them trade for a reliever who will be a free agent after this year. To do that as quick as they did, because usually that happens like at the end there of them trading for a reliever. So I was a little bit surprised that they ended up doing it, but again, great pickup. We've seen the Mets attached to a lot of the Orioles relievers beforehand, and that was one of them. Gregory Soto. So a really good addition, definitely deepens the pen. You can put this bullpen in a lot of different situations. It also gives you another option to where you're not using Huascar Brazaban 6 times every week. So again, it comes to a point of the workload that is important, and then again, the depth out of the bullpen is really important too. When we have a decent amount of starters that have been struggling to get out of or pitch into the 6th inning, such as Holmes, Minaya, we don't know how long he's going to be able to condition himself to some point where he gets ramped up. Senga's been struggling recently. David Peterson's been the only one who's been giving us that length. There still is innings that do need to be eaten, and that definitely helps us out. So we'll see what the other move is. I'm hoping that it is a certain person that has been thrown around over these last few hours on Twitter. If you guys know who I'm talking about, we'll get into him. But either way, before we get into all these deadline rumors, because I know that this is going to be the talk of the town, obviously. I just want to get everything out of the way beforehand. Frank, I'll swing it over to you for the injury report. Just like last time, we have just two. It's been a little bit more peaceful, which is good.
Yes, we like peaceful.
Frank, we do like peaceful. We really do. Even though we enjoy hectic things sometimes, we'll get into the injury report featuring Unk, as it is said by Evan in the chat.
So we'll start off with Tylor Megill, Mets starting pitcher, through bullpen sessions on Thursday and yesterday at Citi Field this week after he was transferred to the 60-day injury list. Megill is currently eyeing a late August return, with his role still undetermined per Mets manager Carlos Mendoza. The 29-year-old right-hander was placed on the injury list on June 17th due to a right elbow strain. Paul Blackburn, Mets right-handed pitcher, threw his final rehab outing yesterday afternoon for AAA Syracuse, tossing 6 1/3 innings of 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts on 87 pitches. Blackburn could be rejoining the Mets later this week, with his role yet to be decided. The 31-year-old right-hander is currently on the injury list due to a right shoulder impingement, as his latest of several injuries during his Mets tenure. So maybe the last appearance for now for the Hall of Famer Paul Blackburn, the Mets injury report Hall of Famer, that is. We know Hall of Fame season this past weekend, so we'll see. His role is going to be very fascinating, though, like you mentioned. Could he take the spot of like a Garcia, that kind of thing, where you have that true long man? I'm okay with that. I think that's totally fine. If you have Clay Holmes doing his Clay Holmes thing, or Senga and them to go deep into the game, or you have, as we know, the rain delays, the double headers, all this other stuff. It's nice to have just like that one more guy who has the arm built up to be a starting pitcher to go a few innings. That's something that I feel like that's the one role he could still handle.
Yeah, Daniel not holding back. Listen, it's rough saying, "Damn, McGill is still on this team." Yeah, he's still here. We'll see how they do some things here, because it's going to be odd. Because there are not many spots really remaining as of right now. Like they're definitely looking to replace, I don't know, Rico Garcia right now in the bullpen, and that's about it of like the usual. So I mean, Diaz, Stanek, Garrett, Raley, Soto, Budo, Brazaban. We all knew that they were going to be in the bullpen, and there's one more bullpen spot, and then there's no one really like traditional in this rotation right now that I see. It seems like they don't want to take out, but I don't know. We know that Tylor Megill is Mr. Inevitable, so I'm sure that there's going to be something that does happen, and he will end up back into the rotation somehow. I don't know. But we'll see how they line that up. But again, good problem to have all of these pitchers that have pitched at the major league level. They have major league experience. They've had some things, and, there's this or that.
Is it
good problem to have.
Crazy that, this is like a miracle, but let's say a couple things here. Number one, Paul Blackburn actually pitches well. Could you make the move of Clay Holmes to the bullpen sooner? Or option number two, 6-man rotation. That would also limit Holmes' workload, Senga's workload, Manaya's workload. You can go that route. Or option number three, you actually do acquire an ace, which we might get into in a little bit, and then move Holmes to the bullpen, or go 6-man rotation. Like I feel like there's a few routes they can go with this.
I don't know. Could there be somebody in that bullpen that gets moved? I don't know.
I feel like Budo would be the one. I feel like everyone else
It might be Budo, because I think he's out of options.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so that maybe, I don't know, but
because he also did, he'd also be a candidate in like the dud category a little bit. He was not all too great either in this Giants series, so we'll see.
I don't know, but anyways, we will see. They have plenty of options. It's better to have a lot of options than no options like they had a few years ago. So somehow they will figure it out. Somehow they will solve it. And I am excited to see what's going to happen over this next week because there's a lot of moves that could possibly happen. Who knows? And we will get into those right now. So let's get into the deadline talk. Obviously, there's one conversation that's been going around that is the bigger than everyone, but we're just going to go into what has been talked about recently over all of these different reports with 72 hours remaining and counting. Now, here are some of the main reports that we have seen regarding Luis Robert Jr. from the Chicago White Sox. That seems to be one of the main targets for the Mets as of right now. Ari Alexander on X said 2 days ago that the Padres, Phillies, and Mets are among the 3 teams interested in Luis Robert Jr., with the Phillies coming up multiple times. The Mets have been described as a dark horse for Robert. Via Bob Nightingale on USA Today, which has been the big bombshell here, saying that the Chicago White Sox want third baseman Mark Vientos from the Mets in any deal for Luis Robert Jr. We had Buster Olney on ESPN yesterday say that the Mets are looking for a potential 1 or 3 starting pitcher to basically start game 1 or game 3 to have for the playoffs, as the Astros have been contacting the Mets about their young infielders as well. In addition, Mike Puma talked about some Sandy Alcantara stuff, saying that the Mets are among teams that have checked into Sandy Alcantara. The asking price is steep. The Mets haven't ruled out adding a starting pitcher, but view it as a tough add given the market. Other position players that have been linked to the Mets, Cedric Mullins, we know. Jarren Duran has been talked about before. Harrison Bader has been mentioned. Thank you, Andy Martino. You're such a big help. Stephen Kwan has been mentioned as someone who the Mets have been linked to as well. Brandon Lau was mentioned today. Brent Rooker was reported by Joel Sherman, which is not going to happen, but I'm just going to put his name up there for shits and giggles. Why not? Starting pitching across, aside from Sandy, Dylan Cease has been mentioned. Edward Cabrera has been mentioned. Mitch Keller's been mentioned. Zach Gallen has been mentioned. And then on the bullpen side, Ryan Helsley, which is spelled wrong. My apologies. Yohan Duran, Griffin Jacks from the Minnesota Twins. David Bednar's been mentioned. The guy that I want more than anything, Anthony Bender, has been mentioned. Emmanuel Clase has been mentioned over these past few weeks, but it might not happen given the story that just came out today about him.
He's suspended or on the restricted list.
He is suspended, so that's not great. Camilo Doval was mentioned by Will Salmon today. It said that the Mets have apparently checked in on him. I don't know what the deal is there. Danny Colombe. Danny Colombe from the left side, so I don't know if that's going to be the deal. Hunter Harvey has been mentioned, someone who was actually in a trade talk for Starling Marte in the offseason. Andrew Kittredge as well from the Baltimore Orioles, along with what Gregory Soto was. And then, of course, Sir Anthony Dominguez as well with the Orioles. So there's plenty of guys who the Mets have been attached to. There's plenty of guys that are going to be made available. This has potential to be an interesting deadline coming up. Let's just say that, especially for the Mets, of what they are going to end up doing. But we all know that Luis Robert, we've already talked about him many times on this show before. It's definitely heated up these past few days, this past week, for a guy such as Luis Robert Jr. In the center field position, we know that the Mets do need to address center field, like we have said. It would be nice for them to do that at the trade deadline. And it looks like they are going to be opportunistic, as the Mets are interested in Robert. We've seen, reports from Bob Nightingale saying, which, again, if you want to take it with a grain of salt or not, but we've seen reports from Bob Nightingale saying that, the Phillies like Robert, but not as much as the Mets do. So we'll see what they're willing to do. There's been plenty of stuff that's been put out there. Mark Vientos for Luis Robert Jr. I asked you guys in the poll here final chance to get your votes in here. Frank, I will ask you this straight up before we even get into any other deadline talk. Would you trade Mark Vientos for Luis Robert Jr.? Obviously, there would be other things included there, but as the headline piece for what the White Sox apparently want, Vientos for Robert, yes or no?
So for 2025 Luis Robert, no. If it was 2023 Luis Robert, oh yeah, and plenty of other teams will want him. But like other people are saying, it's so hard for me to say that my offense is struggling and my solution is to trade for a guy batting 204 because I don't want to hear the defense. Tyrone Taylor is maybe better than him defensively in center field. So you're not trading for defense in center. You're trading for offensive potential. I just find it so hard to believe that, this guy's been bad now 2 years in a row, that all of a sudden he's just going to turn on the switch and be this amazing offensive player again. I understand there's some splits that are in his favor, hitting well in July, hits well against left-handers, hits well with runners in scoring position, yet despite all that, for the season, still hitting 204, even with having that amazing July. Like, that is a big concern. And even if you look at OPS Plus, he's at like 77 or something like that. When was the last time he had a home run? I mean, it just has not looked pretty for Robert. And I know Vientos has had a very, very bad season, but I'll predict this. The season that Mark Vientos had for the Mets last year, and more importantly, the postseason that Mark Vientos had for the Mets, Luis Robert Jr. will never do that, either as a Met or in his career. Ronnie Mauricio will never do that. Brett Beatty will never do that. So I understand that Vientos has been awful this year. I totally get it. He had a big hit today. Not today. He had a big hit game 2 of the series. Big hit against Kansas City. Might be, getting out of it slowly but surely. But overall, I think people are just a little too quick to get rid of a guy who is so young that just finished having an amazing postseason for you. That was a massive piece to why you even got to National League Championship Series to begin with. I understand that his position, his base running, the defense, there's a million concerns, sure. But I think a lot of times you have to look at the long term. And, Starling Marte's contract's up this year. If you want Vientos to DH next year, that's fine. Guys are allowed to have sophomore slumps. That's a thing. So if all of a sudden he's great next year on the terrible White Sox and you have Robert who you're not quite sure what you want to do, if he's just for you, you have to decide all these club options at $20 million per when you already have a big payroll. I just feel like there's a lot of different factors here that I'm just not in this massive rush to do it. I'm not totally against trading Vientos, but a 1-for-1 for Robert, this version of Robert, I'm not too thrilled with it. And unfortunately, I could see it happening. I'm not going to say it's unrealistic, but it's just not something I'm in a rush to do.
Listen, I think there's a lot of recency bias that goes under with Mark Vientos, obviously him being arguably one of the worst players on this team this season. And I think we all can agree with that. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try and convince everybody in the chat that is saying no for yes, because this, again, it's not perfect. And to be honest, I feel like it's very split of what people will be willing to do considering the situation. And I'm going to give as many details as I can. And in this poll, we have 53% of you are saying yes, 47% of you are saying no. So it is very, very close of what people think. Now it just moved to 51% yes and 49% no. So it's very, very close of what people think about the possibilities of trading Mark Vientos for Luis Robert Jr. Here's the thing. I don't think I'm at a point where I'm talking about trading Mark Vientos because of the bad season that he is having. And to be honest, I don't think that I am going to talk about acquiring Luis Robert Jr. Despite of the bad season that he is having. What I mean by that is I think that there's details in here where it really helps this team, and then the worst case scenario is not a bad case scenario whatsoever. So here's what I'm going to map out here. Luis Robert Jr., which I think I've said many, many times before. People can tell me it's Robert or Robert. I'm going to say Robert for now. So if it ends up being Robert and Gary Cohen ends up saying it Robert, then I will say Robert. But right now I'm going to say Robert. Okay? Luis Robert. In comparison to either Mark Vientos, the Mets obviously need a center fielder. Yes, we know that Tyrone Taylor has probably been very comparable in production-wise to Luis Robert. Not the upside of Luis Robert at all. Doesn't have the bat speed of Luis Robert at all. Doesn't have the power of Luis Robert at all. Here's the deal. When we're filling in the margins here, we're filling in the weaknesses. The Mets obviously need a 5-hole hitter. As much as Jeff McNeil has, how good Jeff McNeil is and how irreversible you've been of these kids, how good all these kids have been, they need to have somebody that's batting 5th. In those types of situations, runners in scoring position, like we have said. Luis Robert has been very good with runners in scoring position, not just this year, throughout his entire career. He can face lefties. He also gives you that elite defense in center field, the great elite base running and elite speed that can be utilized by Anton Richardson, who's been phenomenal this season as the Mets' first base coach. Now, obviously, there has been talk about, of course, he has this team option. He has $20 million team option for 2026 and 2027 that people do not want to end up taking on. We've talked about it so many times of the Mets being limited of players that have these certain skills that can help you win in the margins, and not just the fact of if they're hitting or not, because we have a lot of players that have to hit in order to play because they're not going to provide anything else. The main definition of that is Mark Vientos. Now, here's the worst case scenario that I think a lot of people are panicking about for absolutely no reason. You have Luis Robert here. Let's say the Mets trade Luis Robert for Mark Vientos. Robert comes in here, sucks. He's terrible. He's just as bad as he was in Chicago. You decline that team option, and he does not come back next year. And then part of that worst case scenario on the other side, Mark Vientos will ball out. He'll be great for the Chicago White Sox, who are going to suck for the next 10 years. So what's the damn point? Like what I've said many, many times before. There's so many times where I'm like, okay, yes, we gave up this guy. Yes, we gave him up. But is the team doing anything? The White Sox are not going to be carried by Mark Vientos' bat if he ends up coming back because in comparison to the 2024 Mets when Mark Vientos was hitting well, they didn't have Lindor. They don't have a Lindor or an Alonso or a this or that. Like, they're not a good team. We know that the White Sox aren't a good team. I understand not wanting to trade him straight off of a great postseason, but this isn't the same Mark Vientos from last year. This isn't a Mark Vientos that's going through a sophomore slump. It isn't. Because if you were to compare some of the underlying numbers, he's completely different from last year. Completely different. And I will tell you right now, where's he going to play at this point, at this current moment, going down the stretch of the season? You have Beatty and Mauricio that have both made strides at third base, and we all know Mark Vientos ain't good at third base whatsoever. Then you have the DH position where Marte has been phenomenal. So why would you take him out of that equation? Plus, you also have that $20 million that'll come off the books from Starling Marte if you want to keep Luis Robert for $20 million. Do we see how this lines up here? So again, I'm not saying that Mark Vientos has to go no matter what. But again, if Luis Robert, who would be a 5-tool player, he could be a 5-tool player on this team, and with what he has been doing so far, it has nothing to do with potential, can help this team with runners in scoring position, hitting against lefties, providing defense up the middle in center field, giving us more stolen bases and better base running and going first to third. Those types of things in the margins. If he could do that for us, that would make the team better. Because again, those things that I just pointed out, hitting with runners in scoring position, has Vientos done that this year? No. Hitting left-handed pitching, Vientos hasn't done that this year. Base running and stealing, Vientos ain't going to do that. Defense, Vientos ain't going to do that. So again, I'm not saying that Luis Robert is perfect. I am far from saying that he's perfect. But I do think it is a good fit for this team that has really no place for Mark Vientos right now. And it's crazy to say that with how good he was last year. But the fact that I'm seeing him in trade talks is the fact that I'm like, okay, well, they're not really factoring in 2024. It's 2025 now. Like that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And listen, everyone is all good to disagree. I'm okay with if you disagree. But again, guys like Mark Vientos are the reason why this team gets shorthanded by a lot of different teams, whether it's in the postseason, division rivals, teams in the National League. Enough with the one-dimensional players. It's enough already. There's a reason why they traded for Lindor, not just because of him being a superstar or whatever. He gives you those tools. There's a reason why they traded for Tyrone Taylor in such the margins. There's a reason why they signed guys like Harrison Bader, because they were lacking so many guys that had those tools where if they don't hit, they're useless. So again, they just don't have that. And this is the type of game where they need it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like again, when people tell me, there's this one more argument that people tell me, why would we trade Mark Vientos at his lowest value? Because he's probably at his lowest value right now because he's not hitting. And all the only value he gives you is with his hitting. Well, then that means that he's untouchable in trade talks. Because again, we're talking about the same situation where people talk to me about Jeff McNeil. If he's playing like shit, you can't trade him at his lowest value. Why would you do that? Then he's playing well. We can't get rid of him. He's been playing so well. So then that means that Mark Vientos is untouchable. And nobody can tell me that Mark Vientos is untouchable right now. It's impossible. It's nearly impossible, in my opinion. So again, there's plenty of scenarios you can map out here. But for me, I would definitely consider this if they were saying, okay, we want Mark Vientos as the main piece. Mark can go. I think we have enough star power in this lineup to where we're like, okay, there's plenty of 30 home run power threats where, again, there's no sign of Mark Vientos popping out of it that he was doing last year. Could it be a loss? It could be a loss. It could be a lost trade. Who knows? And it may be a blemish on David Stearns. But, I mean, to be honest, right now, where is he going to play at this point? Where's he going to play? First base? Pete Alonso's there. You going to put him in left field? Where are you going to put him? Nowhere. Nimmo's going to DH or platoon DH with Marte? Like, what do you, like, how are you going to put so many people out of position? I mean, Frank, we've talked about this before on this show. How many guys that are out of position? This would help you a little bit in that. You know, that would help you in that scenario. That's just what I'm saying. Again, it's okay to disagree. If people disagree, you can disagree fully. Go ahead. But I don't know. I still would consider it just as this roster is formed. This is another good detail from Easy saying he has 6 home runs, and the last time he homered was in May. So again, if we're going to bank on what Mark Vientos did last year, and we're just going to sit around waiting for it, I'd much rather bank on someone who could give us tools and we know he can contribute in other different departments to the rest of the year. That's just me. And Frank, again, you can disagree too. Go ahead. You can give me whatever, debate tactic at all. That's fine. That is completely fine. But I would consider doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you could consider it. I just don't think that this is what I'm going for. And someone mentioned it earlier, but it's like, why does Robert require a Vientos? Like, with the kind of season that he's having, you want to talk about trading guy at your lowest value. I mean, isn't Robert also at his lowest value as well? Like, why are we the ones that are giving him like an actual asset in a certain sense?
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where I don't know. They seem to be enamored with Mark Vientos. I don't know why. I don't know their reasoning.
Well,
and to be honest,
oh wow, the guy has potential. Like, but you know what? Maybe we should.
or
Rush to
it almost means that the Chicago White Sox will basically fall for anything in any sort. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we
Again.
have like three guys that they could have. They could have Beatty. They could have Mauricio. So it's like, why are they taking like the best of the bunch, and we're keeping the potential worst of the bunch long term? I mean, that's the other thing I would.
I think they're just
propose,
assessing the value of Luis Robert. You can say it from the same direction that the White Sox are going from.
Well, the White Sox want to get something out of him before declining that team option because they do not want to pay him $20 million because they suck and he sucks. So I mean, that's just dumb for them. They're smart.
I don't know.
to
I still think this could help this team better than Vientos is this year. That's the thing.
So this season it can for sure, but I think what I don't want to see here is another PCA Javi Baez situation where
I
have
don't
the
really
guy
care
for a
about
couple
that, to be
months,
honest.
and then the
I'll
other
tell you right
guy
now.
goes to another team and he's hitting 30 home runs a season. I mean, that's
And if
just
we do face the White Sox in the World Series,
it doesn't matter
one
because
day,
the
and he
White
beats
Sox
us
are-
up,
the
then
White
that's when
Sox are
I would
irrelevant.
surrender it.
The White Sox are relevant. It's a player that was employed by your team that you could have kept that could still help you. Who cares about the White Sox doing? It's what are you doing? Because
That's the thing.
Wait a second. When Starling Marte's contract runs out and the Mets run out a bunch of scrub DHs that can't do jack, you know what, that we've been talking about for like 5 years now, and Viento's still out there hitting bombs. I mean, you're not going to be looking too happy.
But what does that feed, or what does that feed besides just the ego of our organization? It doesn't do anything.
It gives you a long-term power bat at DH that this team has desperately needed.
But
for
that
5
long-term
years.
power bat has been the worst player on the team this season.
This season, but that doesn't mean that this season is indicative of his entire career.
But
Do you
Frank,
okay,
you realize how different he is from last year? Like, this
Why?
is concernably different.
Why
how
is he so
different he is
different?
from last year?
Why is he so different?
Okay, well, there's somebody who mentioned it in the chat. His bat speed has gone and plummeted down to the Earth's core. He's not hitting the ball hard as much, not finding the barrel zone. He's getting torched by secondary pitches. Like, this is a completely different player that you're looking at right now. I don't know if it has anything to do with that. And then there is one thing that I talked about of directing back to that abdominal soreness he had one day. I don't know if that's something that is factoring him in. But this is like a completely different player, including the bad plate discipline he had last year.
While he was so great with bad play discipline.
While he still was great. However, I don't know how many times you can sit here and say, well, a guy who's a glorified DH, he's just going to start going. Like, when is that going to happen? He's had over 100 games to show it that that's going to happen.
He's been hurt multiple times. He had the hamstring.
I am sure he's been hurt, and so is Robert, and that's another factor as well.
Yes, but he also does not have. If he's a player who's struggling and slumping, he does not have the greatest hitting coach to help him. Because guess who helped Francisco Alvarez when he was struggling? AAA, not his hitting coach. So he is not in the greatest situation to be successful. We've seen how many times where a player goes somewhere else and has more success. So I would not be surprised if with a.
Do you trust that the White Sox is going to be that guy?
It might not be
team?
the White Sox. It could be another organization that he goes to down the road. He doesn't have to be a White Sox for the rest of his life. He could end up going somewhere else, and a real hitting coach actually gets the most out of him. And it's not going to be with the Mets. That's another thing that could happen too. Like, I feel like people are forgetting how young he is. Like, you just give up on 25-year-olds? Like, what?
If he doesn't provide anything else, like, he's a DH. That's it. That's all he is.
Which is something that we can't use, especially next year and going forward.
Well, right now you have Marte, and then you also have that shiny guy from Philly that's going to be on the.
Do we think Luis
Let's
Robert
have that
is
shiny guy from Philly that's going to be on the market that I would throw $800,000 million at.
And it's a guarantee that you're going to get a free agent who's.
I'm not saying that it's a guarantee.
Solution.
I'm not saying that that's a guarantee, but again, if the trade value of a glorified DH at 25 years old is a 5-tool player in Luis Robert who can help your team this year with some of the struggles they've had this year.
Where is this 5-tool?
I'd pull the trigger on it.
Luis Robert is a 2-tool player, speed and glove. That's it. He has no other tools.
He can definitely give you power.
When was the last time he hit a home run? People talk about Vientos has 6 home runs. Robert has 10. Like, it's not like this 20 home
That's
run
more
guy
than
we're talking about
Vientos,
here.
who's the
Wow.
supposed. That's more than Vientos, who's the supposed power bat, though. That's what I mean. It's like,
it's not
would you rather the tools and power or just power that doesn't even exist anymore?
We don't know. If
And
it
I'm not
exists
saying that
anymore
Mark
to begin
Vientos
with.
is his entire career is done, but what I'm saying is you have such a logjam. It's one of those things of like where Mets fans talk about of I want all the good players, but I don't want to give away any players. You got to give to get. Something's like you got to give to get in some way. I'm not saying that Luis Robert is the guy that's solving it, and not to mention the top of this lineup's got to come through. Like this top of the lineup has definitely sagged off.
No, I mean for sure, but I just think that overall, like Vientos had one of the greatest postseasons in Mets history. Like
I will be forever grateful for that. But we're seeing a completely different player right now that's not meriting any value that he has. And to be honest, if that actually did matter with him being in the postseason, like I said, if that did matter, then he wouldn't be in trade talks. Not to mention he's out of minor league options too. So there's like nothing you can do. You just have the guy sitting there.
All right, so then I'll ask you a question. Who's your future third baseman for the New York Mets?
I would go with Ronnie Mauricio.
Really? And a guy whose OPS went up 100 yesterday? Do you think he's that much better than
he is one of the best qualified defensive third basemen this season.
Okay, I'm not talking
better
about
than Beatty, which is not being talked about.
I'm talking about the bat.
Okay.
Do you don't think Mauricio has offensive concerns?
He has offensive concerns, but not as much as Vientos.
Okay, but has Mauricio accomplished what Vientos has in the major leagues?
No, he has not. But he actually can give you tools.
Okay, but I just feel like you're getting. We talk about how the struggle for this team right now is offense, and you're talking about a bunch of gloves. Like
I don't think the struggle for this team is offense. I think the struggle is consistency with the offense.
Consistency with the offense. Okay, but it's much harder.
And would Robert help that? I don't know if he will. I have no idea if he will.
So then, what is that solving?
It's solving things that they need to put into the margins to help them in the postseason. Because there's some things that Tyrone Taylor can help you to do to fill in the margins, but he's not an everyday player.
Really nicely, he's doing.
Comes off the bench really nicely. We know he's a fourth outfielder.
Okay,
but we know that Luis Robert has been an everyday player before.
About these margin players have to get. And you mentioned Harrison Bader for the Mets, who ended up being a fraud that Tyrone Taylor had to take his job. And now Tyrone Taylor's a fraud, and they need someone to take his job. So all these things that you're telling me, these guys don't actually matter because they all end up losing their job anyway and not actually being contributive pieces for you in the playoffs when it matters the most. Meanwhile, Vientos was the Mets' main contributor in the postseason when it mattered most. So I just don't understand that if the goal is to win a World Series, why are we taking away from guys who actually have been successful in the postseason? I don't get that part of it.
Because you're not seeing that guy anymore. He's done a complete 180.
It's half a season. We're acting like it's been 5 years this guy's been bad. It's half a season. He's 25.
It's been 100 games. That's more than half a season.
I mean, technically,
but this is the thing.
But
if he wasn't, if he provided any other tools,
also,
this wouldn't be talked about.
Vientos has played 73 games this season. That's less than half a season. So it's not 100 games. It's 73. Let's get that right. It's less than half a season.
Okay,
as
that's fine.
far as saying, let's give up. We are now throwing away a regular season and a playoffs for 73 regular season games. That's what we're talking about. At 25 years old.
He's one of the reasons why this team has been struggling.
He's not the main culprit. There's a lot of guys on this team. That's why they're struggling. Mauricio is just as much an issue as Vientos is for why they struggled.
I did not see one last night, but no, I mean
he had a great game. But and also Vientos won the game for them the other day. I mean, what about was Robert going to win the game too?
But what I'm saying is what has been one of the main issues. You've had infield defense, culprit Vientos.
Okay, he doesn't even play the infield
runners in scoring position, culprit Vientos.
Okay, but so
that's what I mean.
But you're also telling me that because a guy was good with runner scoring on the White Sox, that's gonna come to the Mets with him and Eric Chavez. That Robert.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there's different elements of the game he can contribute for this team.
Okay, but Vientos was good last year at runner scoring position, right?
Yeah.
Was Alonso good at runner scoring position last year?
No, he was not.
Okay,
I'm
so
just
then
saying.
So what happened?
But again, we can't put Alonso and Vientos in the same
Well,
conversation.
we were.
Alonso's
I mean, that's
been
the
one of the best.
But that's the thing. All these people that want to trade Vientos also want him to be a starting first baseman, want Pete to walk away in free agency because the recency bias that everyone just wants to get rid of someone as soon as they struggle a little bit.
Again, I'm not doing it off of recency bias. I'm doing it off
You
of
kind of
what
are,
can
but you're
they
doing
provide.
it based off of 73 game sample size.
I'm doing it off of what they can provide. And what they can provide is Vientos is useless unless he hits.
Which this season he has not hit yet. The season's not over.
I mean, here's the thing. How many of these one-dimensional players do you want? Starling Marte is a one-dimensional player right now.
But
He's a bat
only
now.
a couple more months. I mean, for Vientos, we could be talking about like a lot of years. You're more concerned about a couple of months, and I'm talking about years.
I understand that, but I'm saying is that you have Starling Marte here. I'm talking about it right now, because right now is right now, where you don't know if you still have Pete Alonso going forward. You don't know if you still have some of these pieces. You don't know what the future holds.
Well,
for
listen,
some
if you
of
pay
this.
$20 million to Robert, it becomes hard to keep Alonso. A regular $20 million.
Not really, because you're just replacing what you're giving Marte. That's it.
Yeah, but you still have to make a long-term commitment to Alonso.
Yeah, which is fine. That's long term. He's probably going to get the same $27 million he's getting this year, or a little bit more than that. You also have some other money coming off the books that we'll talk about there. But again, I don't know how many one-dimensional players we need on this team that are so limited in this space. Like, you have Vientos here, you have Marte, you even have Winker, who's not even here, is probably not even in the equation right now. You have Alonso. You have, I guess right now you consider Ronnie Mauricio in that category because he's limited right now with the coming off of the surgery. You have Nimmo, who we know his main asset is his bat. You have McNeil, who has defensive versatility but should not be playing.
Did the Dodgers have one-dimensional hitters on their team when they won the World Series last year and beat us?
But they also have guys who have positional versatility and also defensive ability too.
So do we.
Like who?
McNeil.
Tyrone Taylor, who's not an everyday player.
Lindor.
Okay.
McNeil.
Okay.
Nimmo. Like
Beatty, who can play third base and not second base well.
He's been fine at second.
No, he hasn't.
Okay. But regardless, I don't see how this gets us closer to where we need to be.
You have Alvarez, who can't move. You have Alvarez. Well, he's a good defender. I give him that. He's a solid defender behind the dish, and we know what the bat can give you. But it's like,
to me, it's like,
I'm not saying turn us into the Brewers, but what I'm saying is you need
how weird is
yeah, I know. David Stearns is here,
but the team. I mean, oh my gosh, was surprised there. But I think for me, I'd rather get rid of Eric Chavez before I get.
I would too, Frank. I want that more than everything.
Okay, but I just don't understand this. I don't know. I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if Mauricio, Beatty, Marte, Robert, whoever you want to give me, has anywhere close to the postseason Vientos had last year. I would be shocked.
They won't, because it's nearly impossible to replicate that. And saying that Mark Vientos would replicate that, and that's the reason why you need to keep him.
He has the best chance of doing it again out of all of them, being close to it. He has the best shot at it.
Does he really, with his bat speed completely gone?
His bat speed wasn't that great to begin with, though. He didn't have great bat speed.
It was good enough. He's been in the 70th percentile. This guy he's in like the 29th right now. He's damaged. He's really bad right now. Again, this would be a perfect thing of saying this is a sophomore slump. It's not. It's not a sophomore. This guy looks awful. He looks terrible. And I'm not going to say that Luis Robert is the guy that can just replace what Vientos is doing and he can give you what he gave you in 2024. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the team gets not only younger, but more athletic. And those are things that you need in October.
Well, in general, this could have been avoided by not trading PCA, and that's why I'm saying that if in a couple years from now we're talking about needing a DH, and that's the other thing too, is that Vientos also, we lost to NLCS. It was not because of Vientos' defense at third base, by the way. Like, he was the third baseman.
No, of course not.
In the NLCS. So it's like, if we're talking about, oh, we need a third baseman, oh, we need a DH, while Vientos out there mashing home runs big, oh, I wish we still had that guy. Because if we still had PCA, we wouldn't be talking about Robert, and we could still keep Vientos. So it's like, this just getting rid of guys just because they, whatever, a bad half of a season, not even, is just,
it has nothing
like,
to do with
at
that.
25 years old, I don't know.
It's
Like, I feel
it's
like
how
there's
the
other
team
guys
is
that could go.
constructed is what I'm saying. How the team is constructed is the reason why I'm saying this. Not to mention all the other details of he's out of options, he's out of this, and like it's again what he can provide is what I'm saying. Is like he only needs he needs to hit in order to be valuable. Like you're seeing the complete difference. Like if you want to say it complete from face value, you go to Mark Vientos on Fangraphs here, right? And we talk about wins above replacement. He is negative 0.4 because he's not hitting. When he was hitting last year, 2.9. That's the difference.
Well, we know he's mainly a hitter. He's not. He never was a defender.
He's a hitter,
Wasn't
exactly.
A great defender. I mean, he needs to hit. I understand, but I'm just saying that one bad season, I'm getting rid of the guy is like, guys have down years. Like it happens. So
I know guys have down years, but you're getting the factors and underlying numbers of him not looking like he's going to keep up. And not looking like he's going to continue. Like if he was still hitting the ball hard, if he was still hitting into hard luck, if he still had the same types of tools and he still had the same types of underlying numbers that he did last year, I would. But with Vientos now, it's like that's the thing. This is another good point from Emizi saying, who can we trade Vientos for then?
like maybe someone who's actually good. Like, why am I trading for a scrub? That's the thing that also bugs me.
I'm not saying that Robert's the only guy you can trade it, but again, if the asking price for Robert is Vientos, I'm not going to just sit here and say, no, you can't have Vientos because he was fantastic for me in the postseason. How do we know that he's going to repeat that again, especially what we're seeing this year? Like, that's the thing.
I mean, the guy's 24.
We're talking about a logjam when you can literally fix a logjam right here. Do you want to put Beatty in that conversation instead of Vientos? But we don't even know if the White Sox want Beatty.
Well, why wouldn't they? He's great. That's what I'm seeing. A bunch of people saying in the chat, Beatty's
Well,
better.
yeah,
Why
he's got a
wouldn't you want
fantastic
Beatty?
amount of tic-tac edits, but again, it's
Well,
if
guess
they're
what? The playoffs
asking
aren't
for
only
that.
played at Citi Field, guys. I hate to break it to you, all the Beatty fan club, but the playoffs are not only played in Citi Field, so that's going to be.
Listen,
interesting.
I would move Beatty too. Listen, you know my stance on Beatty. I ain't impressed. I ain't that impressed.
Yeah, so I mean,
But-
it's if we're still talking about like Brent Rooker,
Here's the thing.
Mentioned, fine. Like I'll drive Vientos myself, but I mean, come on now.
Here's the thing. Juan Diaz saying can't trade Vientos for a scrub. What has Vientos been this year? A scrub.
But Robert was a scrub last year too. Vientos was not a scrub last year.
Vientos has been a scrub beforehand too.
When? It was his first full season last year.
Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking with you. But
And also the Mets. I mean, this is the thing. A lot of this is also self-inflicted by the Mets with the constant BS call-up send-downs they were doing to Vientos his entire career. We wouldn't be in the situation of the out of minor league.
I'm not
option.
disagreeing
So
with
it's
you
like,
with that.
But it's like, why are you getting rid of a player who has potential because of your incompetence as an organization? With making a bunch of one-dimensional players to begin with, in addition to him, mismanaging how you call up and send down, trading away PCAs, like all these other mistakes the Mets made, it's Vientos' fault.
it's not Vientos' fault, but it's the fact that whoever drafted
He's
him
the
wasn't
scapegoat.
David Stearns. You can call him a scapegoat if you want to, but it's a move that you again. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that the way that they develop hitters is disgusting, but it comes to a point where they have this weakness and they're trying to veer away from it because they have been drafting a lot of guys with these certain tools and not just like these high floor guys. They've been drafting a lot of them and they've been trying to develop those guys. But when it comes to the toolsy part, Vientos isn't in that category. We know he isn't. Maybe Beatty is because his defense has gotten better, but we know he's not like, oh, well, he's the biggest fleet of foot and he's a fantastic athlete. Mauricio, maybe, but we still don't even know because he's coming off of a torn ACL. The closest thing is Acuna, who we know we don't trust to play every day at all because he's terrible. Yeah. Like, it comes to a point of like, what are we going to be filling in here? And also, Luis Robert, if you bring him in here, what does he have to be at best? The 7th best hitter on this team?
No, you were talking about batting 5th after Alonso. That's what you said.
Well, yeah, you could do that.
So he needs to be like the 5th best hitter on the team.
I mean, with his numbers with runners in scoring position throughout his entire career, maybe that'll help. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect. And I've warmed up to the idea of Luis Robert. There's also some other concerns that we haven't even mentioned yet, and we've talked about before. The work ethic issues. We've talked about that before. We've talked about that before.
I'm sure.
So again, I'm not saying it's perfect.
A guy who likes to work, so I'm sure he'll respond great to New York booing him. I'm sure that will go over.
That's the thing I've brought up before. You know that I've said it, but again, I'm just saying it's like, if that's the asking price, if Vientos is the asking price, I'm not going to fight to keep him because of what he did last year.
But
I'm not going to.
But it's also, even though he's had bad issues, what he could do for me in the future, because I know I'm going to need him.
What can he really do in the future?
Hit really good. He could do that in the future.
Who knows? And to be honest, you don't even need to know the future with a guy like Luis Robert, because if he sucks, you just cut him.
Then you don't have either
decline the
one
option.
Now you just have a bunch of. Now
you won't have either one of them, and then you'll have money off the books. You'll have Starling Marte's money off the books. You'll have Winker's money off the books.
You'll still
and
need
you get to
DH,
make more decisions.
A center fielder and a third baseman all at the same time.
Well, you'll have Beatty and Mauricio, which they seem to like, right? You'll still have Tyrone Taylor here.
Yeah. So.
I mean, obviously they're going to have to address things in the offseason, just like that. But again, the worst case scenario, like I said, Luis Robert sucks. You cut him. You don't pay him $20 million. And then Mark Vientos is good on the White Sox.
When he could be good on your team when you need those positions.
But again, what does he fill in this again, right now, at the current moment, what does he fill in for this team?
Right now, he doesn't.
Nothing.
But okay, well, listen. If you're more concerned about a couple months than like the rest of his,
I'm worried about winning right now. Juan Soto's on my roster. That's my concern right now.
15 years, so like
he is here for 15 years, but
having Vientos for a few more years gives you a better chance of getting a World Series than Juan Soto tenure than Luis Robert.
Juan Soto's on my roster. We got to go all in here, and if that means parting with our dear baby Mets, we might have to do it. I know everybody wants to hold on to everyone.
I didn't say everyone, but this is.
I know everybody needs to be held on to, and their entire value needs to be wrung out like they did with J.D. Davis or like they did with some of these other guys who stayed here way too long. Again, if his trade value is as high as a guy like Luis Robert, that where we have a need in center field, I'd be willing to do that. I'd be willing to do it. And I'm not saying that Luis Robert is perfect. Again, I'm not. But there is upside there. There is. Can't say there isn't. But there also is.
There isn't. I could say that
there is.
He's been.
Oh, there definitely is.
There's no upside.
There definitely is.
He's done.
But, oh yeah. So Jeff McNeil's bad for 2 years and he has the upside, but Luis Robert doesn't. Okay.
He bounced back.
Anyways, but yes, I know he's been bad for multiple years, but he's also been good for multiple years before too. Again, like again, if we're going to talk about the past too of what happened in the past with Mark Vientos last year, Robert's been good in the past before too.
Yeah, well, it was another year ago, 2023. So I mean that means that for Vientos, we're ready to give him for one bad season.
And Jeff McNeil should be staying because of his batting title from 4 years ago.
And he's doing good now. And both of these other guys about aren't.
Yeah, it only took 2 years.
He had a good second half, right? So.
Yeah, he had a great second half, man. He had a great second half. Anyways.
Yeah, let's compare them. That's the Braves. I'm sure that'll go over great.
Well, I mean, Soler probably goes into the same category as, I mean, offensively with
if we
Robert,
have a cheating
maybe.
lab when like all of our guys become better, then sure. But unfortunately, we don't have that in our disposal. With like every single move the Braves.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a hitting lab. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there's things that get overlooked as to the comparative. Well, he's batting 204, so fuck him. Like, I think that there is that. But again, I'm not saying he's perfect. I am not saying he's perfect at all. But as for other trade deadline acquisitions, like we said, I do want to talk a little bit about Anthony Bender, who has been mentioned. Very good sinker baller from the right side that can be kind of paired up with Gregory Soto. It has been talked about as maybe someone who's packaged with a Sandy Alcantara or Alcantara or Alcantara, I don't know. Along with maybe Edward Cabrera, who we have talked about before. But, adding on to this rotation, I've talked about it before. I think the main need is someone who can eat innings and give you quality innings. Find yourself another David Peterson who gets a little bit more strikeouts. Try to. I can't believe I'm saying that 2 years later, but find somebody who can give you volume, so you have all the bases covered. Can Sandy give you volume? We've seen him do it in the past. We've seen him give you the highest of volume possible. I mean, we've seen him have. How many complete games does he have in his career? He's got quite a few. Don Mattingly freaking ran his arm into the ground. It's so crazy how he ended up with Tommy John surgery. But again, he's been one of the worst starting pitchers of all of this season this year. So it's not like he's been on the upswing. So he's definitely a buy low candidate. Never been the biggest strikeout pitcher, but he's a big sinker baller. He has 12 complete games in his career, which he hasn't done it this year, which kind of makes sense. I don't know about the volume that he has had this year. He's pitched 7 innings once. He's been in the 6th inning about, 7 times. Yeah, he's definitely not giving you the volume that he was giving you before he came back from Tommy John surgery. He obviously has the club option for 2027, so you have, team control for next year as well. He's making $11.2 million, so that is more. That's actually, I think that's less or a little bit less than what Clay Holmes is making. So again, it's definitely a buy low. It's a big buy low. Home runs have been an issue this year. Walks have gone up. Strikeouts have gone down, like I have said. Velocity has gone down. It's not the best. Same goes for Edward Cabrera. I don't think that's what they need. I think it would be fine, but I don't think it's what they need in terms of volume. He's had a lot of injury concerns as well. He's had a lot of injury stints. So the rotation, like we said, we saw David Stern say directly from the horse's mouth there. He said that, it's tough to acquire starting pitching at this current moment. So I think that the Mets are looking at it. Obviously, Buster Olney said, Buster Posey was actually in the booth. Buster Olney said that the Mets are looking for a number 1 or a number 3 in a rotation, which is good to see them looking at 2 different flexible departments. I don't know what that means. I know that the guy that we're facing tonight has been talked about in Dylan Cease before. Zach Gallen has been talked about, who would be a buy low as well. I'm interested. I am very interested to see what they end up doing. I think there is somewhat of intrigue with Sandy Alcantara. I gotta look up Robert. Imagine we get Robert and Alcantara. I'd kill myself. Okay. Is it Alcantara? What is it? But again, we'll see what the deal is with this rotation. I don't think that they're going to pursue it as heavy as it's been said over these past 48 hours because of the asking prices possibly. But we have gotten reports. It's like, oh, well, the Marlins have been looking and studying up on the Mets farm system. So I don't know. Alcantara. That's what it's pronounced on. That's what it says on Baseball Reference. So if that's where we're going on, it's Sandy Alcantara. Okay, cool. Anyways, Frank, any thoughts on how they build up to the rotation? Because obviously the Vientos for Robert trade talks, that's probably going to be talked about until the end of the trade deadline. But again, rotation, there probably is a need there to strengthen it. I don't know. Sandy, rough year for him. It's been
Yeah,
rough,
I mean,
very
like,
rough.
can we talk about guys who are like actually doing good? What happened to that? What happened to, on the trade deadline, you target guys who are having quality seasons? Not all. I mean, this is what I've been talking about with Stearns. I mean, enough with the projects, because this is why we're in the situation to begin with. Because all we want to
But
do
he's
is a bunch
got
of
a Cy Young.
a while ago. I mean, we talk about a lot of projects. We talk about upside. We talk about all these things. We never could talk about, someone who's actually doing well and you sign them while they're doing well, or you trade for them while they're doing well. It's always, we want this, underappreciated value and turn to a qualifying offer. It's like that's, Stearns' motto. It doesn't win championships, but it wins regular season games. I mean, that's kind of what he's done his whole career. But I just think that with Sandy, it's like, again, if we're talking about the version from a few years ago, oh my God, I'd be giving up anything for him. But right now, I'm like, why? I'm like, I shouldn't have to give up anything crazy for him. Again, why are these guys who are struggling asking me for top prices? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And if there was a really good starting pitcher out there, everybody would want him because everybody wants starting pitching. So I don't understand why the Padres, who are also a very solid team, would be trading Cease to begin with. I don't see why.
Probably because he's a Boris client, right? And they're probably going to lose him to free agency.
He is a Boris client, but it's like if you had the Dodgers on the ropes last year, and the Dodgers are, by all accounts, worse this year. Why are you? And you have a wild card spot. Why are you making your team worse? I don't get that.
You'd have to contact AJ Preller.
But that's the thing, we don't know the Padres are actually moving him. I mean, people say a lot of things.
Yeah, he's been talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of things can get rumored, especially with the Mets. Like you showed before that graphic, there's like a million names on there. How many of those names the Mets are actually getting, and how many of those names are actually getting moved? I mean, that's the thing, too, is that,
We'll
like,
see.
we saw last year, we talked about, like, Scootball, he's going to be on the trade market, and he didn't get moved.
Yeah.
Like, you have plenty of times where it's like names are talked about, and they end up staying put. So I don't see like this, oh my gosh, like this is the guy who go out there, because as we know, no dominant team, expanded playoffs, everyone's in it. There's no sellers. Everyone's a buyer. It's like, we want Evaldi. No, the Rangers want to compete. Oh, you want someone from the Royals? Oh, they want it. They're trying to make trades for people.
Yeah.
The Braves, who I'm talking about in the chat, they're a million games behind us, and they're still making upgrades and want to like not give up anything. So like everyone, even if you're 17 games out of it, you feel like you're in it. So there's no sellers. There is not like a starting pitcher out there. So we're kind of left looking at like, oh, well, these guys that are kind of they used to be good at this, and like we're trying to like convince ourselves that these guys are good. It's not the way I would approach it. If something great pops up, go for it. If not, then you don't have to do anything crazy. I think what's happening right now is the Mets are probably in on a lot of things. You're having discussions about a lot of things, but it takes two to tango. And if there's nothing great, Stearns is not going to overpay, especially with prospects. That's not what he does. No. So if the deal isn't great, he's not going to take it. So the Mets might talk about a lot of things, but as far as like what they actually come away with by the time the deadline comes around, we could be underwhelmed. I mean, that definitely stinks.
Could happen.
Yeah, you always have to take it to the extreme. Sure, if Mitch Keller's available, sure. But did you see Mitch Keller's name up there? I didn't. Are the Pirates trading him?
Him up
we
there.
don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I put him up there.
okay, I mean, you want to give me the extreme? Sure. I mean,
If you're talking about the guys having good seasons, he's probably having the best season out of all of them.
Yeah. But it's like, that's not who's the main guy.
But he's considered the lowest caliber of the pitcher out of all of them. That's the crazy thing.
Edward
Yeah.
Cabrera. We're not talking about Mitch Keller. So
yeah,
I mean,
and that's again that's the thing. It's like there's one starters and then there's three starters that was being discussed, whether you want to trust Buster Olney or not, who has been notorious to try and give the Mets fans a wedgie. But
he also got his George Springer, and I still don't even have his
he did get his
bet, so
where is the family farm? I don't even know. Where is that located? But anyways, is that possible that they're looking? I'm sure they're going to be looking. I think the least likely is going to be a starting pitcher. I think if you're talking about all of the needs that the Mets are currently under and need, I'd say that the most likely is going to be a relief pitcher, obviously. Second would be center field. Third would be starting pitching. Because of what we're seeing on the market, like you just said, and like what you just described there, you have so many teams going for guys right now because, there's no dominant team out there. And then there's also the fact of not many of these top flight guys are having the best season. So it's more of a buy low or a more of a sell high or sell low, like whatever it seems to be from the other side of whoever is shopping these pitchers. I don't know. I really don't know. And I think that the relief market is going to be a lot more active than the starting pitching market. But you never know. I don't know. Maybe there is a starter that has not been even mentioned that could be traded. There is one that I would put the hat in the ring for the pitches for the Angels that like nobody is talking about at all, but I don't think he's going to get moved. And that being Jose Soriano. That is somebody that I would go after if you're looking for someone to, stabilize the rotation and be a mid-rotation type of guy, because he's had 3 consecutive solid seasons for the Angels, and like nobody talks about this guy at all. Like nobody does. He has been a little banged up, but this is someone who can give you some innings. He definitely could. Especially this year. He's definitely been a workhorse this year. He's made 22 of 22 starts in the turns of the rotation. So that's another guy that I feel like should be mentioned. He's, has tons of years of control, but we all know that the Angels can let go of guys. Could Yusi Kikuchi be available? I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see if they get creative with the starting pitching, or, I don't need to sit here and say, well, we need to get a starting pitcher right now. It's a must. Get me another Paulie Punch-Outs. I don't need that. That's better than like Paul Blackburn is worse than getting nothing in the starting pitching department. I think we can all agree right now. Like that's how bad Paul Blackburn's has been as a Met. If we get another repeat of that and we see them acquiring some jackass from let's say the Mets, for starting pitching help, for someone who can't start a postseason game for you, let's say they go after Zach Eflin. Like, why? For what reason? Like, why? That makes no sense. So if they're in that starting pitcher 1, starting pitcher 3, but there's not a big supply of guys who are like, they're having a good season, or they're having that, like, there's not a big supply of that. And that's why I think it's unlikely. I do think it's unlikely. I really do.
Yeah, like, where are the ones? Like, if they're looking for a one, like, who is that guy? Like, what one is available?
There's one that's been discussed who is by far the best, but that team might be competing as well. Joe Ryan's been talked about a little bit, but I don't think that's going to happen at all. I don't see it happening at all.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota traded Paddock, so that's not Joe Ryan.
Another guy on that list from Andrew, Dick Hammerbush. That's another great option. Exactly. There's nothing. There's literally nothing. Like the pitching, like there's so very few, and the supply and demand very, very.
I think in order to get Joe Ryan, Stearns have to go into an area he's not comfortable with. As far as like you can move Mark Vientos, fine. Let's get that out of the way to appease whatever. Fine. You can move whoever. I mean, you can move top 5 guys. I mean, Joe Ryan. That's something that I'll move a bunch of guys. Fine, but in order to do that, he would have to go to somewhere he has not gone yet.
Yeah, which is not going to happen. I mean, it doesn't even look like the Twins are actively shopping him. There was talks about Byron Buxton being possibly on the trade deadline. He said, I'm a Twin. I'm staying there. He's under contract. He ain't going anywhere. I am a little bit curious because this is something that I don't think we've heard much about. I'm a little bit curious, but I don't think he's really considered a center fielder anymore. Depending on where the Rangers are going, Adolis Garcia, is he someone that is made available? I don't know. I'm kind of because like he's like coming close to his free agency, right? He's getting close.
The Rangers have a wild card spot right now. I don't think they're trying to do anything crazy right now.
He's a free agent after next year.
Yeah, and they're 4 games out from Houston.
Chris Paddock, exactly. That's the best what we're getting here. Like that. Well, you're getting Eric Fetty and Carlos Carrasco. What the Braves are doing right now. Yeah, the Rangers are hot right now, but they're not.
They're hot. They have a wild card spot. 4 games behind the Astros for first.
They're in a wild card spot. Is that really how close the AL is? Jeez.
Both leagues are very close in a lot of areas.
Damn, son.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize
that's what I'm
that,
saying. There's
actually.
really not many, and like I said,
No.
even teams that you feel like should be sellers, like the Royals, like the Braves, no, they're the biggest buyers. So
Yeah.
then you have
Yeah,
Cleveland,
you have
whose
teams under
guys are
500 that are
actively
like
trying to
less than
lose.
5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
crazy.
the Guardians right now has been talked about. Maybe are they sellers? They're 3.5 games out of the wild card and 1 game under 500.
But the players themselves are selling themselves. So
I don't know. Could Stephen Kwan be on the move? Could that be our big blockbuster?
is he going to bet against himself to be trash for the Mets? Is he going to like start swinging at random stuff?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Class A.
Yeah.
Yeah, Class A probably won't get moved given the circumstances of what we saw today. I don't know if you guys saw it. It seems like he's in violation of the sports gambling, joining one of his teammates. Was it Luis Ortiz?
Yep.
What is going on in Cleveland? Like what is going on?
Need something fun
But
to
it
do.
should be interesting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think that the starting pitching market's probably going to be the most quiet, though, considering what is available, which is, we'll see. I don't know. But, it's whatever. Let's see. Some other stuff. The reliever market, again, like I said, Anthony Bender, somebody that I would go after.
I know the Yankees are
who's
looking at Jake
great
Bird
this year.
from the Rockies.
Jake Bird has been talked about. I saw the Yankees attached to Dustin May.
Yes, that was an interesting one for sure.
That's
was something that's more, it's about like, buy low, high upside.
Yeah.
That's something that's interesting.
High upside, put him in bubble wrap until he's
Yes.
out there. Yeah. And Colson Montgomery just tied the game against the Phillies in the third
there you
inning.
go.
So, go White Sox. We're big White Sox fans right now.
Does Robert have like 4 home runs in that game yet? Or
He does. Yeah.
Oh, he does. Oh, perfect. Good.
Yeah, he does. He's on fire right now.
Nice.
Let's see. Let's actually see what's going on in there. Any guys on the Cardinals other than the closer we want in a deal? Probably not. I don't think. Is there anybody else? I mean, I've heard Brendan Donovan, but he's not in the Mets.
I know
They
Steven
don't.
Matz is also available.
Great, cool, bro. Cool story, bro. Didn't ask.
Also, Robert bats 6 on the White Sox. So if you bet 6 on the
He
White
is
Sox,
batting 6 on the White Sox because he is
Lord.
struggling. So we'll see.
Yikes.
Sonny Gray, his
He's
contract is kind of
old.
steep.
Yeah, and his contract is tough. That's a tough take. They got to bite a lot of that. The Cardinals
Yeah.
that I'm talking about, they'd have to pay a good portion of that.
Yeah.
Phil Maton's also
So-
available. That's right.
Phil Matten. Nice. Yeah. Cool. So are they selling the Cardinals? Are they?
Who knows? That's not really a team that likes to sell.
are they
but
doing?
They're like one. They're in a tough spot. They're 1 game above 500. They have to jump a few teams. They're in a tough spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're like right with the Giants. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. All right. Well, we will see.
We didn't
I
talk
think
about,
bullpen and
Brandon
center
Lau
field.
Yet. I mean, that was
Brandon
someone
Lau
that's
has been
also-
mentioned. I don't know
Where would he play?
where would he go.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
He's also, if you want to talk about postseason, he's one of the worst postseason hitters you will ever see. So I don't know what the thought process is on that, but could it be Josh Lowe that's being what? That also wouldn't make any sense either, right?
No, Josh Lowe would make more
Is
sense.
he?
But
Yeah, he's a right fielder. Don't we have a right fielder? I think he's pretty good.
we have a right fielder, yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I think, bullpen help is the most likely, and we'll see what happens on the position player front. I think that, third base, they're not considering anything there. I think, Beatty and Mauricio, it seems like they want them
There's also not many
to
third
share the
basemen
time.
available. It's like
There also
if
isn't.
Suarez gets moved. That's
I don't even think Suarez gets moved at this
That's what I'm saying.
point.
That's if he gets moved. Like other teams are gonna be much more aggressive to get him.
This deadline has potential to be fun,
It also has potential
but
to be
will
terrible.
it be? It has the potential to be fun, but it has the potential, but it could be terrible.
Like
It
everyone
could.
just doesn't get it anyway because no one sells.
No
Like,
one, no one does anything. No one does anything.
Yeah. And McMahon got moved, so he's off the third base market. Even though he's having a bad year, but he's already out of the equation.
Okay. So we'll see. I don't know. I am interested. I'm very interested to see how all of this pans out. I am.
Imagine the Mets did make the Giants sellers. That would they talked about the vault, but I don't know how much. I don't know how far they really got in that. That's someone I'd love
Should
to
they?
get,
They should sell Wilmer Flores.
I trade Vientos for him. I'd do that one.
Yeah, so you can
Flores
have
is
a
clutch.
platoon of Wilmer Flores and Starling Marte, two of the slowest lower bodies
Hey, man,
to ever exist.
I got clutch. That's all I need.
I got clutch in my veins. I mean, he is a free agent at the end of the year, so he could be someone who's moved. Anyways, Robbie Ray, is expiring? I don't know.
That's
That
an
could be
interesting
some.
one.
They have assets.
Oh,
Giants.
they certainly do.
He is a. I mean, he's a free agent after next year, so 33 years
cool.
old. They'll probably hold on to him. If all I can say is, if Logan Webb is available, even though the Mets carved him up, I would be jumping on a grenade for that man. Let's just say that. Anyways, either way, go White Sox. But let's get into the upcoming series that we have here in San Diego. It's about to kick off in about an hour, which will be some more late night baseball. But let's get into some probables for this upcoming series. Now, I don't know if I have to update this because there was a point where it was not determined who the starters were for these last two games, and I just went with what was lined up. So let me just check if they have. They don't have it, so for what it's lined up to. Game 1 tonight, Frankie Montas will start the series opener. He'll face the heavily rumored trade deadline target, Dylan Cease. Could he be coming to the Mets? I don't know. This would be his last time ever facing the Mets. I have no clue. First pitch is tonight at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2 will go to Sean Manaea as he continues to ramp back up, and he'll possibly face another pitcher still ramping up from injury, 38-year-old right-hander Yu Darvish, who we have quite a history with. First pitch is tomorrow night at 9:40 as well, Eastern Time on SNY. And Game 3 will be Clay Holmes for the series finale. He'll face 32-year-old breakout starter Nick Pivetta. First pitch is Wednesday afternoon at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time, also on SNY. We know that this Padres team started off very hot. They kind of tampered off a little bit, but they're still in playoff position. We know they got their talent. We know how good they can be. This is one of Juan Soto's former teams, by the way, one of them. So San Diego Padres, what are you looking for going into this series, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent on paper, especially offensively for them. As you run it down, you see guys like Tatis and Arise, Machado, Mero, Bogarts, like Cronenworth. Like you see a bunch of guys who've gotten paid a ton because they've been great in the past. But in the reality is like, if who's doing good right now, like Machado's been great. Everyone else not as great. I mean, Arise, he hits for batting averages. We know Tatis a lot of tools, but it's like Bogarts has not been what they expected. Merrill, not as good as he was beginning the season. Even Cronenworth not been all that great. They do have Jose Iglesias, so I mean he started at shortstop for them yesterday. Hasn't been doing too well, so they're interesting. We definitely like seeing the pitching matchups. They're going to be intriguing. Dylan Cease, potential, as we know, been a number one before. Yu Darvish been an ace before. Mets always struggle against him. That would be very fascinating. And then Pavetta's been good too. So it's going to be a good series for sure. I feel like we talked about it before, but these teams match up really well against each other. They're both strong in the starting rotation. They both have talent offensively. They both could have a slug out with the home runs. I'm actually intrigued by it. I think it's going to be a really fun series. And it's something that, because the Mets are so unpredictable, it's like any outcome is possible. The Mets could win the series. The Mets could sweep the series. They could lose the series. I feel like anything is possible because these teams match up so well. And the Padres, they're, like you said, they are fighting. They're in a good position in the National League. They're not where the Mets are, but still very good. And they are not, like I said, I don't think they're selling unless the Mets just totally destroyed them, maybe. But even then, I still don't think they'd sell with how much money they've committed. Like, they have to go for it. So
Yeah.
the Dylan Cease one will definitely be very interesting in Game 1. And, of course, the storyline is going to be Soto against the Padres and, all this other stuff, and Iglesias against the Mets. Yeah, I'm really surprised not more national TV involved in this some way, somehow, because, man, they would run away with this. So at least we have SNY.
Yeah, they're 8 games over 500. So, they're likely going to be, worst case scenario, 5 games over 500 when it gets to the trade deadline. So, again, offensively, like you just said, a lot of guys have been struggling, underperforming. Luis Arraez has regressed. Who could have saw that coming? Drake Cronenworth has been disappointing. Bogarts has started to kick it into gear, but he's really struggled this season. Machado's been their main guy, who seems to be, the old man of the group. Jason Hayward's played for them this year. Tatis has been not at the level they expected him to be. But there is one part to this team, like the Giants, that is very, very strong, and that being their bullpen, which has been phenomenal this season. Robert Suarez, of course, hasn't even been fantastic this year. He hasn't been the best this year, but we all know that he is definitely a threat, throws very, very hard. Jason Adam has been great. Nasty. Wendy Peralta on that long-term contract. They have Jeremiah Estrada, who throws gas. They have... Adrian Morain. He's been good as well. They have Yuki Matsui as well, who has struggled a little bit this year. So again, this is a really good bullpen. Again, hopefully they can get to him early. We know that Cease has struggled early in games. We've seen him struggle to get deep into games before. My guy Nick Pivetta, who I don't know, I've wanted the Mets to take a flyer on. He's been their probably their most valuable. He's been one of their best start. Like, he's probably been their best starter, arguably, this season.
Well,
if you want to count Michael King and the less, but King's hasn't had much. King hasn't given them much volume this year.
Yeah, he's on 60
Pivetta is already over. Yeah, so. Yeah, very difficult to do that. And then Pivetta, obviously, over 121 innings, who, again, like I said, I would have went for him, but I think he had like 2 qualifying offers attached to him or something, so it wasn't.
Yeah, Luis Robert's up with the man on against the Phillies, and he's a left-handed pitcher.
All right,
so
everybody, let's watch.
Yeah, this is what he's. He fits us so perfectly. Man on, facing a lefty, like everything is in his favor. So. I'm expecting the White Sox to take the lead any moment. Here.
We should.
Yeah. Everything. Oh, the stars are aligned for them.
And he just got hurt. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyways, the stars are aligning right now to help us against the Phillies. If you have a huge game, Robert, we will get you a free ticket to Queens, and you will be here. And Luis Robert just homered, so suck it. Anyways.
Did he actually?
So, he did. Yep,
no,
2-run homer, 4-2 White Sox.
There's no way.
Bang.
No shot.
And he got hurt on the jog around the on the bases. He just homered. I'm not even trolling.
Oh shoot, he did.
He just homered.
There it is.
He just homered. Yep.
All right.
Anyways.
There we go. We'll get him.
So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We got 72 hours in between here. Obviously, we've got a big live stream that's coming up for the last few hours of the trade deadline with plenty of Mets creators that are going to be featured as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. We will probably have an episode to recap this San Diego Padres series before then. It's going to be a tight squeeze, but I'm going to try to figure it out. If I have to go solo, I'll go solo. So we'll keep the tradition of things continuing. Frank, if there's anything else that you want to say going into this final hurrah before maybe someone gets sent out of here, I don't know. Who knows? Someone's in danger. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you always love to see the team go for a star. I mean, like we said, this is a great year to do it. Like, so many things align in the Mets' favor to actually make a play, but it's just there's just not those stars available. So I'm just curious, like, is there going to be a hidden name? Because that's something the Mets are also pretty good at. Is like we'll see them linked to a bunch of guys, but then they get someone we didn't hear about. So that's what I'm more interested in. Is like, are they going to go for someone that we haven't talked about? And if they do, who that is what's most interesting to me.
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of reliever value that's up right now for a lot of these guys. Like that they've all been having some
Would you
solid
call it
seasons.
robust?
It could be robust, and we could be robust for Robert. Anyways, I'm just going to take a second to let people soak in that horrible joke I just made that I shouldn't have. Anyways, let's finish this off, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications. Make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel to not miss when we do go live. Plenty of stuff coming out this week. It's a very exciting and hectic week coming up, so definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. Of course, Frank's post games that are on TikTok and on Twitter. And then finally, as we go into the final series to this trade deadline, some late night baseball to start this one off. Let's go Mets, and we will see you guys next time.